like what we're using now, a synchronous web conference tool, is that the scheduling was really difficult. And on top of that, one thing I noticed, as soon as I switched over to VoiceThread to solve the scheduling problem, because VoiceThread is all asynchronous, as soon as I switched over to VoiceThread, I saw the quality of the work, the quality of the collaboration went up because it's not live. So students aren't under the pressure to say what they want to say in the perfect way. They can re-record and try again, and they have time to reflect on the answers they get and respond in a more intelligent way. So what I noticed there was that, in a live setting, if you had 30 students in a 45-minute Skype session, each student might get a chance to ask 1 or 2 questions. But on VoiceThread, it's basically unlimited, depending on the parameters of your assignment. So those are the types of things that really jumped out at me for VoiceThread. So when I started working for the company, obviously, I'm an even bigger fan now than I was, but I've always been a fan, just to let you know that. But what I'd like to do now is jump right into show you. All right, so I'm sharing my screen now, and what you're looking at here is my VoiceThread homepage. And you can see a number of thumbnails from different threads that I have access to on my homepage. All right, now you can filter your view of your homepage. I can see all of the threads I have access to, just the ones that are owned by me, just the ones that someone shared with me, whether it's a student or a colleague or something like that. But right now I have us looking at the tutorials page. So if you have a VoiceThread account, I recommend checking us out, going to that little 3-bar icon on the upper left and filtering the tutorials. And you can see how to create, comment, how to share within VoiceThread, how to use the doodle tool, and how to use comment moderation. Now, comment moderation, it makes all of the comments that come into a thread that you share with your students, it makes all of those comments hidden from everybody except for you and the person who left the comment. So this is a way that people use VoiceThread for assessment. So you can ask questions on a VoiceThread using your webcam or your microphone or even text if you need to, and the students can respond. But if you have moderation turned on, they can't see and hear each other's answers. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to show you a number of examples of different ways that people use VoiceThread from kind of the beginning of the year through the pedagogy that they're getting across and the lessons they're designing all the way up to and including some assessment ideas. And then I'm going to show you a little bit about how it works in Moodle. Does that work for you, Kelly?
Yes, we use Moodle.
All right, great. So let me just show you a couple other things here on the homepage before we jump into how to create, and then I'm going to show you some examples. On the left side is my group panel, and this is a collapsible panel. So if you don't see it, it's just hidden, that little tab. If you click on it, it opens and closes the groups. Now you can see all of the groups I have here. Some of these groups I created. Some of them other people created and added me as a member. And the ones down here were all created through integration into a learning management system like Moodle. All right, so once you have integration into a learning management system, a number of things happen. Students will automatically have their accounts created just by clicking on a link that you put in the course. Same with instructors. A group is automatically created, and it just pulls your name, whatever the name of the course is, it pulls that in directly. So you'll see that course name over here as a group, and anybody who clicked on the VoiceThread link that you put in Moodle or Canvas or Blackboard, whatever you might use, they'll be added to the group as well. All right, so all of that stuff happens behind the scenes. All you need to do is put a link in your course, whether it's Moodle, Blackboard, Canvas, or any of the other LMS providers that are LTI compliant. So I'm going to show you a little bit of that towards the end once you have some context, but I'd like to help provide some of that context now. So first thing I want to show you is how to create a thread. Now this is a simple process. It's 2 steps. You upload something and then you comment on it. All right, so typically the first voice thread out of the box when you open up your browser and log into VoiceThread, especially on the higher ed level, is usually a situation where an instructor will upload a PowerPoint presentation that they've already used in a face-to-face class, and then they'll narrate over each slide. All right, so that's kind of the typical first step. You can also upload images, you can upload movies, you can upload documents and review them with your students, and I'll show you a few examples of those as well. You can record directly from your webcam, which is going to be the first example I show you. But let me get into the creation process So you can put some visuals to what I'm saying here. So I'm logged into my account. I'm on my home page, and I'm just going to come up here and click Create. All right. Now, the first step, like I said, is to upload something, right? Add your media. So I'm going to click Add Media. Now, I could just drag and drop a file from my desktop right onto this page if I want to. But most of the time, you'll be going through your computer, looking through your files, and seeing what you want to upload. And it can be a mix of any type of media. It can be a 10-slide PowerPoint presentation, a couple of videos, a YouTube video, an image. You can mix and match all of them, rearrange them as you want to, and create a little presentation and discussion space that you can then share with your students or colleagues. So I'm going to go into my computer in just a second, but let me just give you a quick tour of some of these other ways you can bring media in. So we have media sources. You can pull in slides from other VoiceThreads you've already created. You can pull in videos directly from Khan Academy without having to download and then upload. You can pull in images from Flickr's Creative Commons licensed image database. The Google Drive integration, this is just a placeholder in my account right now, but this will be coming out real soon. And it's actually already live on our mobile app. So we have a mobile app for iOS and Android devices, and you can already pull in Google Docs into your VoiceThreads through the mobile app right now. And the final one that we have is the New York Public Library's public domain database of images. So you can pull all of those things in. You can also take a selfie, the webcam photo option, the webcam video option, which, like I said, I'm going to show you a few examples of. And you can add YouTube videos via URL here. Just note that some of the videos on YouTube may be copyright protected, so you can't pull them all in. And unfortunately, there's no way to tell necessarily just from our end on the technical side which ones are and which ones aren't. So if you're unsuccessful adding a YouTube link, that's probably the reason why. But I found most of them do work, so you can experiment with that. Like I said, though, most of the time you'll be going through your computer and uploading your files that way. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to look and I'm going to find a PowerPoint presentation that I want to add. And I'm going to upload that. It's going to begin to upload and process. Then it's going to ask me to give it a title. So let me just title this one Sample. Now I can enter a description here. I can enter tags to make it more searchable. I can add cover art if I want the thumbnail to have a specific piece of cover art on it, and that won't show up in the presentation itself, but it'll just be there in the thumbnail view. And I can even mess around with the playback options right now while it's processing, but for now I'll keep it simple. Just give it a title and click Save. All right, so I have my 3 slides here. I can edit individual slides if I need to or delete them. I can click and drag and drop them to rearrange. If I had maybe a video I wanted to put first, something like that, you can always click and rearrange as you want to. And I can always add more from any of the different media sources or the webcam, etc. All right, so that's step 1. I've already finished half of this, right? I've uploaded my files, and now it's time to comment on them. So let's say this is a presentation I'm giving, and I want my students to learn something here. I've uploaded the PowerPoint slides. Next step is to click Comment. So when I click Comment, it's going to open up the thread in our media player. And this is how it would look to someone who's engaging with it. All right, so I have it set to automatically advance. Let me just go back to slide 1 here. All right, so you can see the slide takes up a lot more of the real estate. It's kind of central. And on the left-hand side, we have our conversation channel. So let me add a conversation piece there. Let me add a little comment. Now, you can use text. You can use a telephone to call in a comment if you don't have a microphone. Our most popular commenting method is audio, of course, because it is VoiceThread. So it allows you to use all that nonverbal communication that is so important to communication. The webcam option, or you can even upload a file you have saved offline. All right, but I'm going to choose the audio. So I'm going to click on my microphone. I'm going to click Allow. And now I'm recording. You'll see the timer has started over here. The red light's flashing. And I also have this pencil. Now I can choose different colors, and I can decide if I want the ink to fade or not fade. But this is how you can annotate right on a slide. All right, so as you are talking, if you have maybe a text-heavy slide, or there's an image or an art teacher or a graphic design teacher, or you just want to draw attention to something in particular, you can click and drag right on the screen. And as you can see, I have it set to fade, so my first circle faded, and now this arrow is going to start to fade. I can toggle that on or off if I want to as well. And I can go through and say what I have to say. When I'm done, I'm going to click Stop, It'll play my recording back for me. And if I like how it sounds, I can save it and move on to the next slide. And now I'm recording. You'll see the time. All right, so I click save, and you'll see my identity image appear over here in the conversation channel. All right, now as a student comes in to comment, they can click on that and they can comment as well. They have questions or they want to respond to something I said. All right, I can advance to the next slide and do the same thing. Click on the plus sign, click on the microphone, start recording what I need to. If I wanted to annotate, I can just click and drag and circle anything I want to draw my student's eyeball to on the screen. I click stop, click on and save. All right, and I can repeat this process over and over. So if this was a PowerPoint presentation, you can record your mini lecture content on each slide. Now, if you make a mistake, you want to go back and do something else, or maybe the comment you left on slide 2 is no longer accurate, right? Maybe you were talking about some census data or something like that, and maybe those numbers have changed. So you want to go back and change your comment. You can go back and delete the comment and re-record it just on that slide. You don't need to do over the whole presentation. And if you've already shared it with your students, you don't need to reshare it or anything else like that. When they click on the link, they will see your updated comments. You can update slides as well without losing the comment. All right, so a VoiceThread is always like a living, breathing thing that you can change and edit and rearrange as you need to. All right, so that's the basics of creation, upload and comment. All right, if anybody has any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I will move on to some examples.
George?
Yes.
Okay. I just wondered, my name is Lisa. Thanks for giving us some good guidance on how to get started here. I was wondering about, could you put up different kinds of things at the same time, different media, like in a collection, like some PowerPoint, a video, and then have them comment on that collection or that set?
So each individual piece of media will have its own slide, but yes, so you can upload movies, and you can have a movie on slide 1, a video file, PowerPoint for the next few images. You can mix and match as you need to.
Cool. Thanks.
No problem. All right, so this first example is a basic introduction. This instructor just recorded directly from her webcam. She didn't even upload a slide or anything. She just recorded from her webcam, and it's a 1 minute and 28-second recording from her office. And this is a way for her to get to know her students and to have them get to know her before class even starts. All right, so she just records her intro and leaves some instructions for the students about how to leave theirs. And then you can see in the conversation channel all of the students leaving their introductions as well. So I'm just going to play a few seconds of this just so you get a sense of what she did here.
Tool file technology for kinesiology. I hope you have lots of experience in kines. I hope you have lots of experience in technology. But just in case you don't, by the time you finish with this class, you certainly will feel comfortable with technology in kinesiology.
All right, so right away you can get a sense of this teacher's warmth, her social presence online, right? That might not come across in text. The scientists tell us that there's something like 80 or 90% of communication is nonverbal. Right? So when you're just using text, you're missing out on all of that, the tone, the cadence, the facial expressions, the hand motions, all of that stuff. And she's capturing that here and delivering a face-to-face class, but in an online way, all right, using VoiceThread. Now I'm going to play a little bit of some of these student comments just so you can get a sense of what they did. And just note how different these student personalities are. It'll jump out at you right away when you can hear their voice.
Hi, my name is Andre, and I'm an exercise science major. I chose this major because I like the idea of keeping yourself healthy and active and finding new ways to do that through what you love to do.
All right, and here's the other one.
Hey guys, my name is Colin. I'm a sports management major, and with this major I hope to become a recruiter for a university.
All right, so each student's going to go down and leave their intro, but right away you can see the 3 very different personalities between the teacher and those first 2 students, and I think it really helps add that human element into an online course, even for an asynchronous tool. All right, this next example I want to show you, this is admittedly not the most exciting example, but it's really practical, and I love practical examples, so I just wanted to share a few seconds of this with you as well. This teacher uploaded his syllabus, and he's going to go through each step and just record what he wants to say. And I think this is great for an online class, but even better for a face-to-face class. So my experience as a student on a higher ed level is that the first 20 minutes or a half hour of the very first class of the year is spent going over the syllabus, right? Now, this stuff is all really important. The students need to know it, but it tends to be the driest content you're going to deliver all year, right? And as an instructional designer, thinking about getting that hook, getting these students excited and interested to learn the subject you've dedicated your life to teaching, starting off with a dry run through the syllabus is not always the greatest way to get them hooked, right? But if you create some on-demand content, give them the link and say, hey, you can go check this out tonight. If you have any questions, let me know. You can even put a question or two in there to make sure they're responding so that you know they've listened and paid attention, right? And you can tailor these how you want, but this is a very simple example. I use the Zoom tool. Just let me zoom back out. So you can see he uploaded this document in a portrait mode instead of landscape mode, so it's kind of vertical. So just so we can see it, I'm going to use the Zoom tool here on the right to zoom in so we can get a little better view. But I'll just play a couple of seconds of this and you'll see what he did.
Welcome to HSCS 380, Sociology of Sport for the summer of 2014. I'll be your instructor. We're going to go through this syllabus right here and talk about some of the more important parts of class for the introduction and what you can expect as we go along. Right up here is my contact info.
All right, so you can see him using the doodle tool to annotate the document. And as he goes through, he's going to point to different things and let them know what percentage of their grade midterm number 2 is, and all that sort of good stuff. But you can see how dry some of this stuff can really be, right? So to put this online as on-demand content, I think, is a brilliant move by this instructor. Okay, this next example, now we're into the semester and we're delivering content. This is a direct instruction piece that this instructor created as part of a flipped class model. All right, so there's no student comments on this. This is just him delivering the instruction with the PowerPoint, simple. And then when it gets to class, he has a face-to-face class with these students, they will ask their questions and discuss it there. But this model could easily be used for online classes as well, when the instructor could give his little mini lecture on this slide and ask a few questions and have the students respond so he can do some formative assessment as he goes.
Welcome to our VoiceThread on legal opinions. The legal opinions are not written primarily for the purpose of telling a lay audience a story about a case in the way that I typically do in class. The legal opinion itself, the case text, is written to teach a professional audience how the law will apply.
All right, so I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to advance a couple of slides into this presentation. And now we're on slide 4. And notice his glasses and bow tie are gone. He's got a different shirt on, right? Different time of day. And this just goes to speak to what I was saying earlier, that VoiceThread is always editable and changeable. So if he didn't like what he said on this slide, he re-recorded it. Or maybe he wanted to update it for a new group of students with some new information, some new data. He can re-record it without having to redo the entire thing. All right, this example is the opposite of the last one. So on the last one, we saw a teacher giving direct instruction without student participation on the thread. This one is all student participation. So this is essentially like the 2017 version of a discussion board, right? I know I got my master's degree primarily online way back in the 90s, and the only way that we could really communicate with each other was through text on one of those old school discussion boards, right? And it was interesting at the time because I hadn't done it before, but there were a number of problems, misinterpretations, right? And I tend to be a little bit of a wise guy sometimes, and you know, sarcasm doesn't always come through in text, right? So I ended up having to kind of tone myself down, and I couldn't really be myself. I had to change how I was communicating, and people frequently aren't as good communicating in written text as they are when they're speaking, right? And you can get a lot more information out. Like I said, with all that nonverbal communication, people can know how serious something is and what you're saying, and they can absorb all that extra context. So in this example, you'll see the students are discussing a book, and the teacher uploaded PowerPoint presentation with some discussion prompts about the book they're reading, The Scarlet Letter.
Hawker's novel matches many of these characteristics, and I would like to point out that the main characters have symbolic names.
All right, now on this example, you can see the students are doing good work. They're sharing their ideas. They're analyzing the book and talking about allegory, and they're using some critical thinking. So this is all great. The one thing that I would suggest for this student is not to write down your answer and then read it. I always wanted my students to be able to speak freely, because I always felt like if you needed to read what you wrote as a crutch, you didn't really understand it. You hadn't internalized it enough. All right, and not to mention the fact that you're never entirely sure what they're reading, where they got it from. Right? Another student could have written it for them. They could have copy and pasted something from the internet. So as a way to mitigate some of those academic dishonesty issues, but more importantly, to really assess what they know, I didn't want my students to read. I told them you can have an outline with a couple of bullet points to make sure you hit all the points you wanted to hit, but I want to hear you speak, and I'm more than happy to deal with the ums and the uhs and the verbal tics and things like that, as long as you can explain to me what you said. So I could walk up to you in the hallway and ask you to repeat that answer, and off the top of your head, you can recreate that answer for me because you really know it. All right. So to me, that's a much better way to formatively assess what your students know, what they actually know. All right. This example is a math example. Now, this teacher just uploaded blank white PowerPoint slides, and I thought this was really brilliant because he used the Doodle tool the same way he would use a dry erase marker on a dry erase board in a face-to-face classroom. He used our mobile app for this. So like I mentioned, we have an iOS and an Android app. You can tell because his handwriting is neater than mine would be, certainly using a trackpad or a mouse. You can use them both, but if you're going to be doing any heavy doodling like this teacher is doing, I recommend downloading the mobile app and trying it there. Let me play a little bit of this and you can see what he did.
Okay, so let's go over what we've just been talking about. Let's start with solving for exponential equations. For example, if I have 5 raised to the x plus 3 power equals 25, how do we solve a problem like this? Well, again,
all right, so he's going to go on to answer that question. As I scrub across here, you'll see he fills in the whole solution and explains this to his students, and that's a great direct instruction piece. He could have stopped right after he asked that question, though, right? How do I solve a problem like this? Now, if he had comment moderation turned on, he could use this as an assessment. And he can mix and match, right? He could give some instruction on the first slide or two, show students a sample of how to solve it, and then post some problems on the next few slides and have them solve it. And he can make this an assessment if he wants to, just by turning on comment moderation. So let me jump back real quick to the thread that I made. And I'm going to go in to edit this thread. It's going to bring us right back to the Create tab here. If I wanted comment moderation turned on for this thread, all I need to do from the VoiceThread side is go into Options and Playback Settings, and then just check off Enable Comment Moderation. All right, and once I click Save, all of the comments that come into this thread will be hidden from view, and they'll look like this. They will have a closed eye icon. All right, and that tells me that I can see it, but nobody else in the class can see it. So the other students can't simply listen and copy each other's answers. All right, now if I wanted to reveal it, I could by clicking on the eye and making it an open eye, but when they come in, they'll be closed. All right, so that's one way he could create an entire lesson where he's giving direct instruction and assessing the students all in one place. Okay, this is a language example, and these students are reading from a script in Italian. All right, now I didn't take Italian in school. I took Spanish, and I was not an excellent Spanish student, I'll admit. But I think one of the reasons why is because all of my assessments, all of my homework, all of my classwork for the most part was written. All right, so I learned how to spell words in Spanish. I learned how to construct sentences, but I didn't really learn how to speak the language that well. My accent's not very good. So what VoiceThread does for language teachers is it allows you to teach language in a more natural way, the way you learn language, right? When we're teaching our children how to speak English or whatever language you speak at home, you don't give them worksheets, right? You just speak with them and you engage with them back and forth, and it's a natural way to acquire language skills. And VoiceThread can mimic that, but it's asynchronous as well, so students can even practice without having that pressure of the live conversation. I'm just going to play a couple of these comments for you, but listen, as someone who's not a language teacher, even I can tell certain spots where these students might need some help because they hesitate. All right. Now, if this was a written assignment, this student, Elizabeth, could write out a perfectly grammatically correct sentence where everything's spelled properly, and I wouldn't know that she's struggling with certain pronunciation. But when you can actually hear her say it, you can tell.
Ciao Maria, dove sei?
Ciao Barbara, sono italiana, di Venezia, e tu?
All right, so you can hear that little hesitation, right? She sees the word, she's thinking about it, right? So she's not as fluent as maybe the instructor wants her to be, right? So that gives you a little indicator as to what this student needs to work on. And if you start to notice these patterns throughout your class, now you know what to go back and revisit, all right? Whereas if you had just given them a written assignment, all of that knowledge that you're gaining is lost, right? And you're not getting an accurate picture of what your students really know. One other thing to note here is that these students don't actually need to wait for each other to read their lines. One student can come in and record all of their questions and statements in this script and then go to work or go to their other class or whatever they have to do. The other student can come in, leave their responses, and drag and drop their comments into the spot where they fit into the conversation. So it doesn't even need to be a back and forth, which I think is pretty neat. All right, this is an example of a thread that I made, and what I had done here is I clicked on the postcard viewer just to show you all of the slides in this thread. All I did was add the very first slide with some instructions and a little intro, and then my students all collaborated on creating this voice thread. Now this was for a 7th grade class, but this template could work at any level, right? What we did here is recreate their entire math textbook. So I worked with their math teacher to break up the class into partner groups, and those partners were responsible for teaching the rest of the class part of a lesson from the textbook. So they had a subcategory to learn, put together a slide, figure out how to deliver this lesson, and then they worked by adding their slides to this voice thread. So as you notice here, there's a little plus sign, right? So let me just go back to the beginning of this one here. If I click on the postcard viewer, you can see my slide here. Students can add slides to your threads just by clicking on this postcard viewer in the bottom right corner, and then click on the plus sign, right? And they'll have a choice to either upload a file, record directly from their webcam, just like that introduction thread I showed you, or record an audio-only slide. So this is what we did. They uploaded their slides here, and then they commented on them after. But you can see that, you know, each one of these partner groups had their own slide, and we were able to recreate their entire textbook. So this is for 7th grade, but like I said, this works at any grade level. If you use a textbook, you can have your students recreate it on VoiceThread. One side note, the students came up to me months after we were done with this lesson and were thanking me for doing it, and I was pretty floored because I said, you know, A, we did this 3 months ago, and B, I've never been thanked for making students do a math lesson before. Why are you thanking me? And they said, well, because it's finals week and we don't have to lug our heavy math textbook home. We can just click on that voice thread and review everything. So I thought that was pretty neat that they were confident enough in their classmates' ability to deliver these instructions to them. And if one of the students did not do a good job, the instructor could always come in here and record some feedback to that student and let them know what they need to do to improve it, and the student can re-record. All right, this is another one that was uploaded in portrait mode, so I'm going to zoom in. What happened on this thread, the student has a rough draft of their paper and they want to get some feedback from the instructor. So they uploaded their paper to VoiceThread, and the instructor then, they shared it with the instructor, and the instructor can then go through just like they would in an office hours setting, right? So this is an asynchronous virtual office hours, and this teacher can go through and explain all the improvements the student needs to make, what was good, what was bad.
Okay, you've attempted to talk about something really awesome here, okay, but you are kind of losing me because you're not introducing this particular idea. So this concept of the making concept failing to acknowledge men and women as historical beings.
All right, so I'm going to stop right there, but you can see she's left multiple comments on this page, and she's left comments on the other pages as well. And it doesn't happen on this thread, but what could happen after this, the student could then take all this feedback, redo their paper, and upload that new version to this same thread. And what you've done then is turn this from a virtual office hours into a portfolio, right? And this could work with art students, photography students, writing students, any type of students that create portfolios, you can use this idea. Have them leave comments reflecting on what they did, and you can give feedback along the way. All right, this is the last example I want to show you, and this is another language example. This instructor is an ESL teacher, so she works in the Middle East teaching students how to speak English. So there's obvious parallels here to any other language, right? This could have been a French, Spanish, German, Hebrew class, whatever it is. But I think what's really important here is the template, not necessarily the subject matter. So what she did on this one, if I click on the postcard viewer, you'll see all of the different slides. Each one of these is a webcam recording, just like that intro, the intro thread that I showed you at the beginning. Each one of these is a short webcam recording where she's asking a question in English, and all of her students are going to respond in English, which is not their native language. And she's going to have a kind of a one-to-many conversation with each student. All right, and then she can assess their mastery through listening. So let me go back to this first slide and play a little bit so you can see.
Good morning. My name is Rashad O'Kelly. What's your full name? What shall I call you?
All right, so what's your name? What should I call you?
My name is Fatma Pati, and you can call me Fatma.
Hi, my name is Basma Hazem Sultan, and you can call me Basma.
All right, so each student's going to go through and answer, and every slide is a different question, and the students are going to give answers. So what I'm trying to express here about the template is that all she's doing here is Q&A, which is kind of the core of every assessment, right? You're going to ask your students to demonstrate something, or to demonstrate an understanding of something, or a simple fact-based question, right? When was the Battle of Lexington? Whatever it is that you're asking, you don't need to type out that question. You can ask it using your own voice. If you turn on comment moderation, now this becomes a summative assessment that you can then go through and grade. All right, so that's it for the examples. Does anybody have any questions about those examples? Anything else you want to see or you're not sure about?
George, I have a question.
Sure.
Do students need to have a VoiceThread account then in order to even see something that I've done with VoiceThread?
Yeah, so there's no anonymous commenting on VoiceThread. You always need an account to comment.
Okay.
If your institution has a license, everybody at the institution has their own account. If you have your own license, it comes with 50 student accounts, and then you can just upload a roster of your students, and they will be able to log in, and they'll be part of your kind of closed walled garden, so it's not public to the rest of the world, but you'll be able to interact with them there.
Okay, I guess my next question probably would be for Kelly, if Kelly's still around.
Yeah, I do believe that we have a license, but I would have to double check about the student. But I know we have a license, and I'm assuming it's for everyone, and that's why we have it, so everyone can use it.
Yep, and I'll show you how those accounts get created on the institutional level. It's all very simple. All they need to do is click on a VoiceThread link in your course. So do you use Moodle?
Yes.
All right. So this is our Moodle instance. It might look a little different than yours, but it works the same way. And this actually works the same way for all LMSs. The only difference is, each LMS has their own menus and things like that. But once you put a link in the course, our configuration menu is the exact same. So I have my editing turned on here. So let me just show you how to add VoiceThread. So this is how you would share them with your students.
Okay.
So I'm going to click Add an Activity or Resource. I'm going to choose External Tool. All right, now I'm going to give this a name. So this is going to be what the students see to click on. So let's say this is Discussion 6. All right, now I'm going to pick my external tool type. Oh, VoiceThread. All right, now I can save and display. All right, now what you'll see, these are the different options. So there are 3 non-graded types of links you can put in to your Moodle course. A link that'll take them right to their VoiceThread homepage and log them in. And I recommend doing this early on in your course. Make this the first thing you do with your students. You put this homepage link in there, tell them to click on it. as their first assignment. When they click on it, their account is automatically created, and if they already have an account, they'll just be automatically signed into it, and they'll be able to see their homepage. And from there, they can access any threads, they can create threads, they can engage in conversations. So that's kind of the simplest, most basic, raw way to get them involved. The course view is a little bit more nuanced. Like I said, when you put a link in your course, as soon as you configure that link, which is, I have not configured this yet, but as soon as you configure it and tell it what type of link it's going to be, you'll see a group appear on your VoiceThread homepage that has your course's name. All right? And when a student clicks on the course view link, it'll take them right into that group. So they won't see everything on their homepage. They won't see the other threads from other courses and things like that, but they will see everything that's been shared with your class. Most of the time, you'll be choosing the individual voice thread option because you have a specific thread in mind. Maybe it's for a discussion that you have, or it's a presentation you're giving, or something like that. There's a specific thread that you want to share with the class, and when you click on this, you can choose from your list of threads, select the one you want, and share it with the class. The assignment builder will take you into the 3 different types of assignments you can create, and they're all linked directly to your gradebook. It's all automatic. So you just create the assignment here, the students can interact with it, and then you'll be able to grade them right from within that same link, and the grades go automatically into their gradebook. All right?
Okay.
So for this particular example, because I want this to be a specific thread I have in mind, I've labeled this discussion 6, and I have a discussion that we're going to be having in week 6 of the course. So I already know which one I want to use. So I'm going to choose the individual VT option. And when I click on that, it's going to load a list of all of my voice threads on this left side of the panel, or I can create a brand new one from scratch right from here if I need to. Now, if I click on create a new voice thread, it'll take you right into that screen that I showed you earlier where you're adding media, commenting. It all saves automatically. But let's say I wanted to share that thread that I made earlier. Let's say this is the one I want to use. All right. I look, if I needed to make a new copy for a new semester, I could do that. If I wanted to preview it just to make sure it's what I want, I could do that. If I wanted to edit it, I can do that as well. But let's say I know this is the one I want. I just made it yesterday, and I'm ready to share with the class. So all I've done is select it. It shows it on this panel. Then I click Share with Class. All right. Now I can return to the course. And now when a student comes in, they'll see discussion 6 as a link. They click on it, and it's going to open up that thread in the media player. All right, so they'll see my comment. They'll be able to hear what I have to say. If they need to respond or ask a question, they can record their own comment right on the slide, and then they can navigate to the second slide and so on and so forth. All right, so that's how the individual voice thread option works, and the home and the course view just take you to that view. It's a more general, less specific way to do it. All right. And the last thing I want to show you is the assignment builder stuff. So let's say I wanted to create a quiz like that ESL teacher made. Say it starts off the same way. Click Add an Activity or Resource. Choose External Tool. Click Add. All right. Now this is going to be a quiz. So let's say this is Quiz 5. I want to find my external tool type. I'm going to find VoiceThread in my list. All right. Now because this is going to be an assignment, I want to set the points. So let's say I'm going to keep it 100 points. All right, you want to make sure you follow that step there. And now I'm going to save and display. And this is going to show me my configuration menu again. These are the 3 non-graded types of links. But for this one, it's going to be a quiz. So I want to use the assignment builder because these are the choices that are connected right to my grade book. So I choose assignment builder, and that's going to show me the 3 different types of assignments I can create. The watch a voice thread assignment. All this does is it guarantees the student has played the thread all the way through. So I know different instructors have different expectations of their students. Some people feel like, especially on the higher ed level, the student's supposed to be a mature adult. And if you give them a responsibility, it's their job to make sure they do what they're supposed to do. And I tend to be a little bit more of a pragmatist in that I know students, even students that want to do well in school may be texting their girlfriend as they're watching, and they may be on Netflix on their iPad, and they're multitasking, and they're missing stuff, important stuff. So just watching it, and just being sure they've played the whole thing was not enough for me, right? I want to make sure they not only paid attention, but they also understood what they were hearing. So I would usually choose to submit a comment assignment. because this requires the students to leave a certain number of comments before they can submit the assignment, and then you can grade it. And this is also what you would use for a quiz. So let's say you asked 10 questions on a VoiceThread and you want them to give 10 answers. This is what you would choose. All right, so I'm going to choose to submit a comment assignment, and it looks just like the individual VT assignment, except remember this is connected to your gradebook. So I can create a brand new submit a comment assignment right here, a brand new thread, or I can choose one that I've already created. All right, so once again, I'm going to use that example. Let's just pretend I had asked my students a number of questions on this thread. Now, this is the added part here. I can enter a description with some instructions and say, on each slide, I asked you a question, leave your response, and then click submit. Right? Now, maybe I asked 10 questions, so I'm going to require 10 comments from my students. All right? Now, there are a couple of other things to check here because this is an assignment. So it's automatically checked and share with class. So once I click create assignment, it'll be shared with the class. They'll see it in their VoiceThread group, and they'll be able to access it. I have moderate comments checked because, like I said, this is an assessment, so I don't want them to be able to hear and see each other's answers. If you did, for whatever reason, you can uncheck that. And the other box here is allow students to resubmit assignments. So this was a feature request from some of our users that sometimes students had clicked submit when they hadn't actually done what they were supposed to do. The teacher wanted to give them a second chance, but they could no longer resubmit. So if you want to give them a chance to resubmit the assignment, you can. Let's say I'm going to be a little more strict and I'm not going to allow that. All right, so I can uncheck that box. So now I just want to review it. I make sure it's the thread that I want. I make sure I have my description and the correct number of comments. Make sure I have moderation checked. This looks good to me, so I'm going to click Create Assignment. All right. Now, when the students come in, it'll open up the thread just like in the individual VoiceThread option. They'll be able to hear what you say. They can look at the directions you left. They can record their comments and then submit. Let's say a few days go by, and I want to start grading them. So I'm going to click on this. Now when I go in, after it's already been configured, I will see this grading panel. All right, so obviously I just shared this with the class that doesn't really have any real students, so nobody's completed this quiz yet, but if they had, I would see their identity image right here, and I could play all of their comments in whatever order I like. I can just go straight down the list and listen to everything they said, regardless of what slide it was on. It'll advance me right to that slide, play their comment, and then there'll be a little grading window here. I could put their grade in, and it'll go right to the grade book. I can also see the students who have not yet submitted their assignments and send them individual reminders, or I can remind the whole class, hey, don't forget, your assignment is due on Thursday. All right. If there's not enough room here, I know certain people have different size screens, and Moodle kind of gives us a very limited amount of real estate. So depending on what kind of link you have in here, you may want to open it in a new tab. So you can just click on that. It'll open up a new tab in your browser. You'll still be signed in to Moodle and VoiceThread, but it just gives you a little more space to operate. So if you ever get squished up, you can feel free to click that there. And that's about it. So I think I nailed the 45 minutes exactly, Kelly. That's never happened before. But if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to stick around and answer them.
Do you have any questions?
I have another quick question. I guess this is for Kelly too. Sorry, George. And George, you did a great job. Yes. Kelly, is there a license number that I need to set up this account? I have gone into VoiceThread before, but it was going to charge me, and I knew we had a license, so I held off.
Yeah, if that's the case, I don't have it on me. So what we can do, maybe if we want to, call tomorrow, we can, check it out and see exactly what you need to do to get into it. So
I could tell you right now, one thing you can do if you go into your Moodle course and you just add the activity or resource and click external tool. If you see VoiceThread in the list of the external tool types, then you have it.
Okay.
So what you need to do is click on that, and then you can go back and configure it.
Okay.
Right, and you could just I would recommend as the first time choose the VT Home configuration, because that'll just open up your VoiceThread homepage within Moodle. But as soon as you click on that link, your account will automatically be created.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
From there.
Yeah, thanks. That's a good question.
All right. What else? Any other questions?
All right, then. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you guys. If you have any questions, let us know.
All right, we shall. All right, and anyone has a question for me, you know how to contact me. I just need to head over right now to my office. I have a phone meeting that I have at 3 o'clock, so I got to get going. So I'm going to shut this meeting down, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to send me an email.
Thanks, Kelly.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great day, everyone, and if you're driving, be careful.